It's about a family. It's about making our relationship work and our family work.
Hello and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. Today we are talking about the book Becoming Sister Wives. We are in part 4 of the book, and that is titled Celebrity, and we are in chapter 15, and this chapter was authored by Christine Brown. I'm going to put a link up on the screen that will take you to the playlist for this series, just in case you want to go back to hear about the other chapters that were in the book. We are definitely getting closer to the end. We just have one more chapter after this one, and it's Robin's chapter about celebrity, and then we'll have covered all of the book except for the epilogue. So we're getting really close to the end. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's find out what Christine thinks about becoming a celebrity. Christine starts out her chapter by writing that she grew up in a climate of fear. Her family was prominent in the polygamist community, but they didn't really want any attention outside of that. They didn't want the outside world knowing that they were polygamist. And they had experiences to justify that. When her father was 8 years old, his parents were arrested for bigamy. They ended up being released the same night, but this just created a whole new set of fears for them. Christine said that originally her grandparents thought this arrest was symbolic, but they found out later that the police were investigating them again. And this time, her grandfather fled and went into hiding. The wives moved to different parts of the state, and for years, her father didn't even know where his siblings were. Christine's father was drafted during Vietnam and struggled with the idea of fighting for a country that divided his family and made them hide their lifestyle. But his father, Christine's grandfather, still encouraged him to serve his country. Christine's grandfather believed that many of the issues within the polygamous community were a result of polygamy being something that people did in secrecy. He believed that secrecy and hiding led to an abuse of power that gave way to underage marriages and abuse. Her grandfather believed that the abuse would end if polygamy was something that was done out in the open. I agree with that. I think her grandfather had a great point, but I also feel like there's another angle to this. Anytime there's a religion where they believe that they're being persecuted because of something they're doing in the name of their faith, I think anytime there's a religion that does that, there's the possibility that it will be used for abuse. Because when they get called out for what they're doing, they say they're just being persecuted. So I do think some of this happened because it was being done in secrecy. But I think some of it being done in secrecy was because they were doing things they weren't supposed to do. So it's sort of one of those things. It's just a circular thing there. I don't think there's an end to it. You could go back and forth about which came first, the chicken or the egg. Was it because they were hiding, or were they hiding because they were doing something wrong? I think it's a little bit of both. I have no idea if what I just said will make sense to anyone else. It makes sense to me, though. I just don't know if I worded it in a way that actually will make sense to other people. But you guys can let me know down in the comments what you think about our grandfather's theory about the hiding. When Christine is writing about all of this, it's clear that she understands why they were choosing to live in secrecy. But she says that it was difficult for her to do, even knowing that. Her outgoing, chatty personality made it difficult for her to not want to share details about her life with people she met. The response she would get from people when she did tell them was far more positive than she was raised to expect. In the book, she writes that Cody tells her that people accept her for who she is because her sweet nature leaves them no choice. Even though Christine got a lot of positive responses, she still knew it was important to try to hide their lifestyle. She tells a story about a time she took a job assisting a museum curator. It was just the two of them, and they were going to be spending a lot of time together. When they were getting to know each other, she was describing her family and said that Janelle and Mary were her sister-in-laws. But when she tried to leave work that day, she just couldn't bring herself to start the car. She didn't like that she lied, and so she went back in and she told the truth. Not only about Janelle and Mary, but also about the kids. She considered all of them her kids. and she wanted that to be clear. Her boss responded kindly without any judgment and never said a bad word about their family, according to Christine. After being married to Cody for several years, Christine became the representative of their faith in a nonprofit called Principal Voices. It was a group that included different branches of Mormon fundamentalism coming together to empower polygamous individuals and families. Christine had opportunities to give interviews, and she spoke on the local news and at local colleges. She also received media training and learned how to deflect when being asked about intimate issues or their faith, and get the interview back on track to being about their family. Christine really loved being a representative of their faith. It suited her personality well. She spent 2 years educating the public about polygamy. Eventually, a television journalist was looking for a family to interview. Principal Voices thought that the Brown family was a good fit. In the book, she writes, "We were a fairly average, stable, all-American family." Christine approached Mary, Janelle, and Cody about doing it, and they all agreed. They flew to New York with their 6 oldest kids. Doing the interview was easy because at the time, the journalist didn't have a show on air. This interview was only going to be used as a demo, so it wasn't going to be shown to the public. Participating in the interview changed things for the family. Suddenly, going public seemed a lot less intimidating. They received an offer to do an in-depth documentary, but this just didn't feel like the right format. Even though they chose to refuse the documentary, Christine was feeling more and more like it was the right time to go public. The family continued to discuss the possibilities of what options they might have, but none of them appealed to Christine. She was also concerned about Cody being arrested and taken from the family. And I mean, obviously, that's a really big concern to have. So even though she felt ready, she still had some things holding her back from fully committing to going public. Cody, on the other hand, was realizing more and more that he wanted to educate the public about polygamy. He wanted the world to be different for their children. So now the family's more comfortable with the idea of going public. Cody is fully into it, and it's just about finding out what's going to happen next. According to Christine, if anyone from the media wants to feature a polygamous family or individual, they first go through Principal Voices. Then the people at Principal Voices look for individuals or families that are a good fit and want to participate. The problem is not many families want to do it. They don't want to go public. There's just too many risks involved. So Principal Voices had an easier time finding individuals because most families didn't want their kids exposed in that way. Christine was one of those people. She didn't mind doing interviews alone or with the wives, but the idea of it being the whole family was something that scared her. When they had done that demo in New York, it had been the 6 oldest kids. It had never been everyone in the family. So when Christine was approached about family interviews, she would decline. She didn't think the family would all want to be involved. But eventually she mentioned the idea to Cody, and he told her that the next time an opportunity came up, she should tell him. At this point, the family had actually done another interview as well. They had done an interview for the BBC, but it never aired in America. So they were getting more comfortable. And then eventually, Christine was approached by a TV producer named Tim Gibbons. Cody met with him and really liked the idea that was presented. After meeting Cody, Tim met with the whole family. His personality and vision of the show put the family at ease. Tim wanted to show the world that polygamists were average people living normal lives that didn't deserve all the ridicule they received. Tim assured them that any request for things to be dealt with off camera would be respected. There was still a lot of debate about whether they should participate, but in the end, they all agreed. Now, it was around this time that Warren Jeffs was on trial for his crimes, and it felt to them like a good time to show the world that there was another side to polygamy. After deciding to do the show, they encouraged the kids to start telling their close friends about their family and their lifestyle. Aspen was really worried about how her friends would respond, but everything went well. Madison, on the other hand, had a close friend that responded in a way she didn't like. Her friend asked her if she had any of the experiences that she had heard about during the Warren Jeffs trial. Madison was able to explain that her family did not participate in those things. For most of the kids, telling their friends was a positive thing. They were finally able to have big groups of friends over. They didn't have to try to hide that they were polygamist. After this, the adults in the Brown family had to tell their extended families about the show, and many of them were concerned. They were worried that their relationship to the members of the Brown family on the show would end up exposing their own family and their lifestyles. So the Browns had to make a commitment that they would take extra steps to protect their extended family's identities. When it came to their church family, Christine says many of them were disappointed and upset that the Browns chose to participate in a show. Christine has a hard time understanding this. She doesn't understand how some people think it's okay with letting other people misunderstand them, and believes her family was doing the right thing by showing the world that not all polygamists are the same. For Christine, when they started filming, it was all really strange. She worried about her hair, makeup, clothes, the kids' clothes, if the house was clean, if the house was decorated well. Simple things in life started to feel very complicated. Eventually, Christine got more comfortable. Unlike her time with Principal Voices, she was able to talk more openly about her family. She wasn't in a hurry the way she had been during interviews. She wasn't trying to quickly get to a point or express an idea. It also helped that she trusted Tim Gibbons and his crew. She trusted that they wouldn't edit the footage in a way that made them look negative. It was the outside media she didn't trust. And she quickly learned that the outside media would twist their words to get the story they wanted. When they went on media tours, they had to watch every word they said, and it seemed like the media was really focused on talking about intimacy between the wives and Cody. And sometimes, no matter how hard they tried, their words still got twisted. Then they would have to do damage control, and they would have to try to refocus everything on the positive message that they were trying to convey. Some of the interviewers were kind, and some seemed to change their minds about polygamy after meeting the family. But sometimes things didn't go well. On one occasion, Christine had an interviewer grill her about if polygamy was fair to the kids, if the kids should be put on a television show, and if the kids should be exposed to the public. This was hard for Christine. She loves being a mom, and she works hard to take care of her kids. After the interview, she was so upset, she asked for the family to gather around her, and they got together and prayed. Christine writes about traveling in this chapter and in this part of the book, just like Mary and Janelle did, but I will tell you it feels a little bit different. Mary and Janelle seem to really like traveling. Christine writes that it's really hard. It shows how different they are, and they have to learn to listen to one another and accommodate each other. So there's just a little bit of a different feeling there when you're reading it. So obviously there's been some conflict that Christine felt a little more than maybe Janelle and Mary did. Christine does give an example. She says that she loves to embarrass Janelle when they're out traveling by doing silly things. She felt like it was all in good fun, but she realized later it was really embarrassing for Janelle, and Janelle didn't like it at all. So they've learned to accommodate their differences. Christine feels like the family is a force when they're all together. She says that this would have never been able to happen before they went public. She also feels like it's really helped the kids. They're now able to live in the open, and they can share with people that they have more than one mom. The kids are closer than ever because now when they're at school, they can associate with each other. Reading this really made me think, though. It made me think back to this moment on the show.
Savannah and Brianna have no relationship. They sort of say hi. No, they don't even do that. They ignore each other in the halls.
And I'm going to add one more clip from that episode. It's episode 11 of season 18, and they're talking more about Savannah and Brianna at school.
Did you guys hang out together since you see each other?
No, I don't talk to her.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we went from them writing the book saying the show allowed them to be out in the open and the kids were closer than ever, to seeing the younger kids going to school together, being out in the open. Everyone knows they're polygamist, and then they're not even talking to each other. Christine wraps up the chapter by saying that she loves how open she can be now that they've went public. She loves being open about her marriage to Cody, her sister wives, and all of their children. She also enjoys meeting the people that have watched the show and hearing about how the show has changed their opinions about polygamy. All right, you guys, that's Christine's chapter. We only have one more to go, and that is Robin's. I don't read this to you directly from the book. I'm sure most of you know that. I just pick out the big stuff. So if there's something in there you think I left out that you feel like it was important, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, leave a comment and let me know what you thought about what Christine said in this chapter or anything else you want to say. If you haven't already, I hope you'll go ahead and click like and subscribe and come back. We just are going to do 2 more videos about this book and we're all done. So I hope you'll come back and hear about Robin and what she thinks about being a celebrity.